judges at the Supreme Court of Appeal are now considering the arguments brought in AfriForum's application against a previous lower court judgment which ruled that the gratuitous display of the apartheid South African flag was hate speech and thus illegal. The case started when a group of people protesting against crimes against farmers used the apartheid flag during their protest. Then the Nelson Mandela Foundation and the Human Rights Commission went to court to argue that under the Equality Act, the gratuitous display of the flag amounts to hate speech. Selo Hatang is the CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation, one of the parties that's brought this application, brought the original application, and now has been arguing against AfriForum in the Supreme Court of Appeal. So good afternoon to you, and thank you for your time. You said something yesterday that I think was really important about how the apartheid flag was designed to bring only white people together, and the South African flag was designed to bring everyone, all South Africans together. What do you mean by that? How important is that for you?
I think it's an important point. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, Stephen. I think it's important because once we reduce it just to being about the flag, we're missing the bigger point that that flag was about reconciliation of the two white groups in South Africa to the exclusion of the majority of South Africans. And one of the reasons we found it so objectionable is that it was a flag that was meant to exclude. It was a flag that was about humiliation. It was a flag about taking what belonged elsewhere. And it's that we're saying we cannot just say reduce it just to being about the flag. Flags speak. They have a message they are passing, and one of those is about subjugation of the majority of our people in our country. And I think most importantly, for a country that's still trying to stitch itself together, that's still trying to reconcile from the past that we have had, we cannot then allow a flag such as this to begin to be the one that fragments us even more.
There are a lot of arguments around hate speech, and some of these are legal arguments. They help us in some ways. And there's actually a legal definition of what hate speech is. But I don't know if that necessarily helps us in the conversation. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sure if you are. But for you, what does the apartheid flag have to symbolize to be hate speech? And again, I say, you know, a court case is important, but it's about a lot more than legal declarations or legal definitions.
I think the two grounds that we are using is harassment and harm that they cause. And it's about how we, like myself, I used the example of me representing many who have gone through this. And maybe before I get to that point, Stephen, to also mention that we mentioned to AfriForum that we shouldn't just reduce it to black and white, that it shouldn't just be about black and white. There are many white people who find the flag to be promoting white supremacy, which they abhor. And I think if we are to then talk about white supremacy, that's where we then saying harm is caused to those who feel that this flag doesn't represent the best of that we can be as a people. And that harm is the harm test is the one that we're saying it should be taken through in order for us to be able to then argue for it to be something that can be declared undesirable in our country, in the democracy that we're trying to build.
AfriForum's main argument against this, as I understand it, is that this would limit freedom of expression. How do you respond to that?
You know, one of the things that we were saying to AfriForum is how hypocritical they can be. That a few years ago, they actually got a declaratory order against Dubuli Bunu. You'd remember that, Stephen. And the harm test, the same harm test that we're using now, is the one that we're saying you should be able to understand. If you apply just a little bit of compassion to your fellow citizens who are saying this kind of flag doesn't help build the country that we want to be. Freedom of expression has limitations too. And that's why the court also found that Dubuli Bunu was undesirable for our country, even though it was part of our past. In other words, expression is not just in words as they wanted to reduce it to. That symbols just matter as much as words do. Symbols speak. in as many words as words themselves convey a message of exclusion, like I said, and subjugation of those who were trying to just make sure that we live harmoniously as a country.
Cyril Gauteng, thank you very much indeed, CEO of the Nelson Mandela Foundation.